Hey, I'm Randy Younger, New York City's go to film enthusiast. Every week, I dive deep into the world of cinema with special guests from the New York City film scene. Whether I'm interviewing industry insiders or comparing the latest releases, there's always something for every movie lover. Join me as I explore the magic of film and discover what makes these movies unforgettable. Hey guys, I'm Randy Younger, and it's a special edition of Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together one frame at a time. And I have a very special group here today. We have talent from the new action thriller Zero, which comes out in theaters and on video on demand April 11th. We have writer director Jean Luc Herbelot. We've got actor, writer, producer Hughes Miller, and actor Cam McHarg. So, gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for
Thank
having
you.
me, Randy.
Thanks for having
Yeah,
us.
awesome. So I saw the movie the other night, loved it. Just immediately grabs you. Fantastic style. It looks great. It's just it keeps moving. It's just a really well made thriller. And I was with you guys every step of the way. I felt like I had a bomb strapped to my chest. So yeah,
You want
kudos to
one?
everybody.
Very cool.
Maybe I don't know.
We have
A
some
little,
we have some free
you
on the
do?
side if you want. Yeah,
That's good.
yeah. We
Good to
can put
know.
2 minutes if you want.
Yes, yes, yes. I should be wearing it right now. We'll just count down. Um, so, Jean-Luc, I'll start with you. How did the film originally come about? What was the genesis of the project?
That was a group effort, man. I knew Cameron from 10 years now. We did a short movie in Los Angeles when I was living in Los Angeles, around 2012, 2011, something like that. And I just finished my second feature at that time, which was called Saloom in 2021, I guess. And Cameron came to me and he was like, "Man, I'm working with this guy who's and we want to make a movie. Do you have a script, whatever?" And I was like, "First of all, I think you should consider shooting in Senegal because something is happening here." So they took the leap of faith. They came in Senegal. I had a production company at that time, and we all fell in love in what we could do with it, with the city, with the country, and all that in terms of production. And then it was about finding the right story for those two guys, right? So I wrote the first script. We sat on that for a couple of months, and then we were like, "Nah, probably not this one yet." Then I went back on another idea, and I communicated that idea to Hus, which was, "Hey, what about two guys waking up in Dakar, two Americans with bomb straps on their chest and a 10-hour kilometer?" And it was like, "That's
Mhm.
interesting." And
Nice.
then from that, the trap, well, the trap, not the trap. The trap is, oh, we have an action movie, let's go, right? The idea was, okay, what's the emotional core of it?
Mhm.
So we spent some time on that, and then I came back to you, and I was like, okay, if you have 5 seconds to tell to your daughter or to your son that you never saw, if you have something to tell them in 5 seconds, what would you say?
Mm.
And it
Wow.
was like, wow, that's interesting, and now we knew that we had the core of at least one character.
Okay. Yeah. There you go.
Then I had two characters, right? So then I went to Cam and I was like, let's work on your character now. And then the idea of the voice and using those guys and the mission. I'm also a big fan of GTA and video games and all that. So the idea of having those guys running in a crazy city and having weird mission, stupid mission until it makes sense.
Mhm.
That's how Zero came together. And then we put it all the layers and all that. And since I'm not a I'm a bit of a nightmare for marketing people because I hate putting stamps on what I do, which is like, oh, it's an action
Mhm.
movie or it's an horror movie or whatever. I like to
Right.
explore a lot of different stuff, but it has to make sense. The idea was, okay, the cream is action, but the core is heart,
Okay.
and then the sauce is political. So there was a
Okay.
lot of layers, and then the idea was to marry all that and for it to make sense and for it to have heart. So that's where it
Right.
came from.
Beautiful. And it was a delicious recipe. So I'm so
Thank you.
glad all the
American
ingredients came
Senegalese recipe.
together. Yeah. Hughes and Cam, how did you get involved with the project?
Trying to get a feature made for a long time, and uh, we came pretty close to doing kind of a crazy, another sort of a high concept independent movie. It was basically like a Western set on motorcycles in the 70s in Mexico. Um, it didn't happen. And then, we got to with Jean-Luc, if you've seen Saloon, Jean-Luc gets pretty crazy. He gets pretty fucking gonzo with his filmmaking. And we were hoping to do kind of an independent we wanted to do kind of a Western sort of Butch Cassidy, Sundance Kid kind of buddy but not comedy, but buddy kind of Western kind of a movie. That's really all we kind of had going in. And Jean-Luc came up with the concept. And he obviously has kind of these strong sort of spaghetti Western influence, even like Korean kind of film influences in there. And we just thought, this is going to be a really unconventional, quirky, sort of an action movie, and let him take off.
Right.
So Jean-Luc came up with this story, and then he and Hoos actually wrote the whole thing. So it was kind of a long time coming.
Right.
And yeah, and even like character wise, when Jean-Luc was talking about the character kind of thing, it was, kind of to let you in on a bit of a secret. I mean, just sort of this long years, I think like 10 years, maybe plus, I think, effort to try to get a movie. People don't realize how fucking difficult it is, and just so hard on us.
Right.
And it kind of represented this whole kind of movie personally. I mean, like, ask Hoos if he agrees, kind of represented our kind of personal story, even with the ending. That was kind of, for me personally, at the ending, without giving it away. I mean, it was like, we did it.
Yeah.
Hoos, what attracted you to the project? What was your fascination, and how did you get into the character?
Yeah, so I mean, just going back to sort of what Cam was saying in terms of our involvement together. I mean, Cam and I have known each other for years and years and years. We've worked on projects together. We've been trying to get a feature made for a long time, and really sort of the getting together with Jean-Luc. Cameron kind of initiated that because he knew Jean-Luc before. And we had a phone call with Jean-Luc, and Jean-Luc was like, come to Senegal. And I can't remember how much longer later, but we were in Senegal. We spent a week there and really decided at that point that, hey, this feels right, so let's do something together. And then the story idea came together, and like Cam said, Jean-Luc and I really sort of, once the initial idea was there, really that collaboration of writing, which was really the two of us, but as a core, it was all three of us really collaborating on these ideas. And so once we knew we had that this action movie really sort of hidden within a bigger sort of political story, with a much bigger sort of worldview on Africa and the West and everything else, we once we got into production, it was really, I mean, so much of the work was in terms of the characters and playing the characters. For me, it was really, and I know for Cameron too, it was so much of Jean-Luc and his preparation in terms of what he wanted from these characters. And so, hats off to him for giving us the tools to be able to do what we wanted to do. We came, Cameron and I both came in to the, starting in production with our own ideas, and then the movie took on a whole, sort of a life of its own, and that was helped so much by being in Dakar, and Cam and I really just sort of being these lost foreigners, which was so organic for us. And that was really the brilliance of getting Jean-Luc to get us to Dakar, and the trust, really the level of trust between the three of us, I think, was the core of this movie. And for us anyways, I mean, aside from what the movie is right now, just the friendship, the level of trust, you just being able to go for it. And I mean, Cam and I were living together while we were making this movie. For us, this was so surreal and such an unforgettable experience. But like Cameron was saying, is really like there was this sort of very, very personal level for Cameron and I, aside from the movie. And then there was a sort of mix in the movie, and it was sort of very, it was this very, it was all very organic. But even like Cam said, the end of the movie, which we actually shot twice, was such a it was a powerful moment for Cameron and I, really, on a personal level. But and hopefully that plays across in the movie. But it was really, I mean, it was at the end of the day, I got to say, it was, credit to Jean-Luc for not only trusting us, but also putting us in that environment. Because I think, for us, it worked.
Definitely did. The three of you obviously work really well together. I love the chemistry between Hughes and Cam. Um, I'm curious. So you shot on location in Senegal, and you had I'm assuming a bunch of extras, but there are some people that weren't extras. What was it like, navigating that world, the world of Senegal, and not freaking everybody out?
That
Wow.
that would suppose that they didn't freak out.
Right.
They did. They
Yeah.
There you
did.
go.
They
Okay.
did. I'm gonna give you a very simple example. Like the guy who it took us, and I'm not joking. I think it took us 6 months to complete one bomb vest. It took us a
Oh
long
wow.
time. And the guy who was doing the bomb was doing that in my fucking garden. And Dakar is like it's very. I think at that time they had a lot of problem with terrorism and all that. And I just realized at the moment I was like, you cannot do that fucking bomb in my garden, man. Like there's drones and all that shit. What the fuck are you doing?
Right,
And
where are you in the car about
and
to?
we were in pre-production. It was like 3 months well, 6 months for those bombs, right? During
Mm.
6 months, I was on the phone with those guys talking about bombs, right? So you can imagine that at the moment there's the movie, there's the preparation, but there's also the reality of what the F are we doing, you know?
Right.
Um, so even for Senegalese people, that was something weird that we were doing there. And then because that's also the goal of this movie for all of us, which is the interesting thing is I personally never saw an American movie slash Senegalese movie or American movie slash
Mm.
Western slash West African movie, right? So sorry. So for in every aspect of it, it was new, and it was provocative. And if you have that, at least for me, if I have that when I'm making a movie, I'm very happy because I know that something not just weird, but something original and fresh will come out of it. And the discussion that we have, maybe with Who's, maybe with Cameron, maybe with everybody in the crew was, it's not because we don't have a big budget that we're going to finish having a product that will not go everywhere, if it makes sense what I'm saying. So,
Okay.
and Cameron has a very good analogy for that, which was, uh, we are a small movie that doesn't need to pretend to be a big movie. Just be truthful and just be original and fresh, and everything will work for it. May it be a great movie or a bad movie or whatever, as long as you're fresh and original and truthful, there's always
Right.
going to be people that gonna understand what you're trying to do. And living in our time right now in 2025, where there's so much movie outside,
Right.
our goal was to make something different, you know.
And you
So
know what, that definitely comes across. And I just want to commend you and the work of the editor and the cinematographer.
mm,
So
yeah, yeah.
the technical team and is basic. You made this it's a smaller film, but it looked very big and epic. So you
Mhm.
really fooled me. So kudos on that
Thank
as
Thank
you.
you.
well.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looked great. It looked beautiful.
Thank you. So that's Raphaël Lubzanski as an editor, and that's Gregory Turbelier as the DP, who did an amazing job. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic.
Awesome, guys. Really awesome.
Um, Now, I also wanted to mention you've got the voice on the phone, who's like this godlike figure played by Willem Dafoe. It's just his voice; we never see him. Uh, did you guys have much interaction with him, or what was that like?
I say that the kudos to Hoos on that because this is a producer achievement on having
Mm,
a Willem because of course there's always the desire of having somebody like that, or at least for us there was the desire of having Willem, the dream, should I say, and then having a great producer is having somebody who makes your dream come true, right? So he did that. So that's on use, that's his job, and he did that well, and we all enjoyed working with Willem. And then there's also the Willem part, and I'm talking for him because he's not here with us, but uh, the strategy was uh, whoever is going to be the voice, especially if it's Willem, let's have the first cut first for him to understand what we're going for because this is again we're trying to do something that has not been done, at least for us.
mhm.
So let's show what we're trying to do, and he will understand better what we're asking for him. And he saw that, he liked it, and he came on board. It was as simple as that, you know. So then working with him took us 2 days. One day we did the first version with the version of the cut that we had at that moment. Then having his voice allowed us to work better on the movie and to find the right tone in terms of editing. And then we had him a second time to finish with the finished product and to add a lot of different stuff. So for those who are going to watch the movie, he's there until the very end of the credit. So stay at the very end of the credit because he really enjoyed the process and he did some stuff that I didn't even ask him to do. And I was like, wow, yeah, that's what it is to work with. That I'm learning as much as I'm learning my craft on the way. I'm also learning that there's people who are professionals and there's people who are professionals plus they love their job. And that's very rare. And Willem is one of those guys. Like he's there to work. He's great, of course, but then he also loves what the he's doing, you know, and you can feel that when you're watching the movie. And that's the gift that he gave us on this movie. And thanks for him.
Right. Final question for everybody. What do you hope audiences take away from this film? Because it's so many different genres. It's going in so many directions. What do you hope audiences, when they see it, what do you hope they feel and take away from it?
Yeah, I mean, for me, and this has come up a lot actually, as we're answering questions now about the movie, and in terms of like how people are viewing this sort of action film, which takes a turn into a more dramatic and a bigger political story. That it's really interesting for me to hear how people are reacting to it, whether we're in an audience and talking to people after seeing it right away, or talking to people afterwards. I mean, for me, I think, making a movie like this is really just um giving some thought, something more thought provoking than just a straightforward sort of action comedy, I guess, because there are elements of that in our movie. I mean, obviously, for me personally, I would hope that people enjoy the movie, but also give it some thought in terms of, something thought provoking, something to think about. And it doesn't even, for me, it doesn't even mean necessarily you don't have to like the movie necessarily, but if it makes you think a little bit, then that I feel like I've done my job.
Yeah, well, you know what, man? So I've actually only seen them. I've seen the movie, I think, 3 times now, at festivals with audiences. First 2 times it's so weird to see yourself, dude. It's an out of body experience. So you can't even really watch the movie. But by the third time I saw it was like the first time I really watched it, and I found it very charming and kind of sensitive in a lot of ways. And it kind of took me back a little bit because when we were doing this, it felt like a more of a larger kind of gonzo action comedy kind of a thing. And that's definitely there, but there's an element of charm and sensitivity to it without maybe revealing exactly what I'm talking about. But I think you can kind of get a sense that there's a charm to it being a small movie in some ways, doing these big things. And I would hope that that comes through, and there's something about that would kind of come through, and also just there's a bit of an emotional impact at the end that I'm very happy and proud of, and hopefully that'll affect others as well.
An emotional impact and a visual impact, especially from you, Cam, because your look and seeing you now, it's like night and day. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Such a transformation, such a great transformation.
No, that was fun. I got to tell you though, it took a lot of trust on my part.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah. Cool, cool.
Jean-Luc carried it through.
Nice. Lastly, Jean-Luc, what do you hope audiences take away from your beautiful film?
Well, I think what we all like about movies, right? It's when we get scarred by them. When I hope that the movie is just that movie will be another Inception, meaning like it left something in your head. So when you are at a dinner and you talk about something that has nothing to do with movies, and then you're like, yeah, like in this movie, right?
Right.
That's what I hope for this one, which is like it prints something in your brain, and then sometimes if you think about Senegal, or if you think about the shitty stuff that West Country is doing somewhere and whatever, you're like, oh, like in Zero, so that's what we all I love movies when they are educational, but not
Right.
just intellectually, but also exactly like Cam said, like emotionally. So that's
Right.
what I hope for this movie, which is like take something emotional from that and also take something political or intellectual.
Very good. A beautiful mix. And gentlemen,
Thank you.
job well done. Fantastic film.
Mhm.
I wish you all the best of luck with this, and I can't praise this movie enough. It's so far one of the better films of the year, and
Oh,
I'm definitely
thank
going to
you.
keep this in
Thank
mind.
you,
It
Randy.
definitely, it definitely resonated with me. Zero will be in theaters April 11th, also video on demand. Gentlemen, thank you. This was fantastic,
Thank you,
and
Randy.
yeah, congratulations again on the film. It's really great.
Thank you so much, Randy.
Thank you,
Thanks for the
Randy.
time. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. So I'm Randy Younger. This has been Under the Radar, bringing movies and people together, one frame at a time. We'll see you next time. Take care.